Hello, Crystal Palace. Welcome to the Upper Norwood Library Hub's Library Live Lunch. This is a place to share positive and useful local information, find out a bit about our lovely community in a bit more depth, and just try and keep us all connected during this time. So my guest today is James Balston, who is a local photographer and the creator of the Triangle SE19 blog. James, lovely to have you. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Hi. I started my career away from photography. Actually, I was an interior designer, and I had done quite a lot of photography at art school, and just never. I loved it, but never saw it as a career option, a serious option. I thought interior design sounded more like a serious job, and I did that for many years through the 90s, and gradually, much as I loved it, I also got very fed up with it, very sick of it. And just anything connected to building and design, the building industry is just very stressful. There's just so much to sort of, get sort of wound up about. And so, I sort of gradually shifted over to photography, which is something that I'd always been doing in the background. And so the obvious sort of photography to do for me was interiors, as that's what my world was at that point. So, that's how I got into it.
Nice to be able to combine both then in the end.
Yeah. And to begin with, I did for about 5 or 6 years, I did literally combine both because I was still designing and then I would shoot my designs afterwards. So that sort of got the ball rolling and got a portfolio started,
Yeah. I guess that must play a big part in I'm not a photographer, so forgive me if I don't word this right, but in terms of when you're looking at a shoot and sort of what you want to do with it, I guess design aims, then having all of that background in interior design must, I don't know, make it easier?
Maybe. I mean, people always say that to me. Clients always say, they're really excited when they hear that I have a background in interior design myself. Because they say, well, I must understand space and what I'm looking at. But I think it's more about whatever visual arts you do, even when you're designing something, it's all about composition. And whether you're designing a three-dimensional space or just a piece of art or a photograph, it's all about composition. So I think that's the common thread.
Do you have particular things in terms of the composition that you like to aim for particularly?
I love the idea of seeing through something, looking through doorways or looking beyond and sort of just catching a glimpse of something beyond and not necessarily seeing the whole of something. I often say to clients when shooting, say, a bedroom, you don't need to see the whole bed to know it's a bedroom. Just a little bit will do, a whole bed can sort of just swamp the photograph and be a bit boring sometimes. But I like the idea of sort of framing and looking through things, and it just makes it sort of a little bit more interesting, a sort of tantalizing glimpse of something.
And does this relate to the Triangle blog in that a lot of the photos I've seen kind of during lockdown and things, it is exactly that it's sort of a view through a door or
I mean, I guess it's just trying to sort of see, and I guess subconsciously I look at things in a particular way, and maybe that is the sort of approach I've taken with some of the subject matter on the blog.
Tell us a bit more about the blog, because it's been going a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it started in 2011. I'd already lived in Crystal Palace for about 5 years by then, and I'd really sort of got a feel for the place and a love for it. And as I say in the sort of opening lines of the blog, it's about, it's just reflecting the sort of strength of community here. And, just it feels different. It feels different to anywhere I've lived before. And everyone I interview on the blog, they all say the same things, basically. It is the sort of incredible community, sort of village spirit, I started it in 2011. The very first blog post was, sadly, the shop's no longer there. It was, I don't know if you remember Manish and his wonderful cheese and wine shop. which was on Westow Hill for a few years. And it just sort of went from there. And it just sort of, the idea initially was to literally work my way around the triangle and photograph all the sort of independent shops and cafes. And I've sort of branched out a bit from there. So I've sort of featured dinosaurs and Subway and things in the park, you know, interesting local stuff, basically. But I try and have a focus on the person behind it as well. So there's nearly always a portrait of someone, the owner or the person that runs whatever business, you know, to try and give it a sort of human face as well.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. So it's actually become, I mean, after such a long time, it's become basically a visual history as well of the triangle.
I guess it has up to a point, yeah. I mean, you know, as I mentioned, the very first place I shot is no longer there. So there is that record of places that are no longer there. Quite a few have come and gone. Hopefully, you know, more have actually remained and sort of thrived. But yeah, I think that sort of whole sort of historic side sort of really came into its own actually with lockdown and everything, because I really wanted to capture a sense of what was going on during the last few months. And also there's a sort of feeling of sort of, you know, wanting to sort of contribute and wanting to help the local community. So, I mean, that was my way of doing something by sort of telling people, you know, what was open and, you know, what people were doing to sort of keep safe and all the rest of it. It was really interesting, and it sort of gave the blog a bit of a new lease of life in a way. I don't know, perhaps after 10 years it was getting a bit dull, I don't know.
Well, maybe just for you it's nice to have a particular aim, isn't it, sometimes, or a refresher for you to have a new idea of how you want to work.
Absolutely. I mean, I have to have something that inspires me, and you know, I don't, you know, I would never rule out featuring anyone or any shop on the triangle, but I, you know, it's great when there's something that grabs me as well, you know. But you know, there are so many interesting stories. You know, people that have started these businesses, and usually they did something completely different beforehand. And you know, in the same way you asked me how I got to where I did, you know, I'm always asking that question as well. You know, and I remember that very first post, Manish, you know, and his lovely cheese shop. He started off as I think he started off as a molecular biologist or something, and then was in sort of medical publishing. So you know, people have strange routes to get to where they end up. You know.
Yeah, fascinating. So just before, I'd love you to tell us a bit more about what you found as you've done the blog through lockdown. Just before we do that, I just want to say hello to everybody who's watching. So I know that we have Mary, Barbara, Mariana, Daniel, Nick, Hester and Andrew. So hi you guys, really lovely to have you, and hello to everybody whose names I can't see. If you have any questions for James, please do drop them in the social media feed of whichever platform you're on, and we will try and answer them as we go. So tell us a bit more about the last few months and doing the blog through the lockdown, because that must have been really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when it all started. I remember the first time when lockdown started, sort of late March, going up to the triangle and feeling really despondent and forlorn. And I think one of the first things I saw was the Thai restaurant all boarded up, you know, and I just thought, this is just so depressing. And also there was that fear. We didn't know, you know, how, you know, if you come anywhere near anyone, are you going to suddenly catch it? And, you know, all these things. There was a real fear, and it was palpable, and I felt that. And, you know, over time we sort of got used to it and relaxed a bit. But so I sort of thought, you know, this is a bit of a moment that I have to capture in some way. And also you know, there were clearly, apart from Sainsbury's and the chemist, you know, there were a few shops that or cafes, or not cafes, shops and sort of food stores that were still open, and I wanted to sort of give them a bit of a boost, some of the smaller shops. So I wanted to sort of let people know, you know, you can still get flour, you can still get this and that here and there, you know. So it was trying to sort of help in that respect, really. And
it's actually been amazing. Just as a sideline from that, it's certainly worked for me from that point of view, in that
okay.
I always try and I've always really enjoyed about Crystal Palace that there are so many independent shops anyway, and I do try to support them. But actually, it's been an incredible privilege, I think, being here during lockdown and having choice, because I never wanted to wait in the queue at Sainsbury's. I just didn't. Anxiety wise, and so actually being able to go into some of the smaller independent ones.
Absolutely. And quite aside from the blogging, I mean, that's something that I've been very conscious of through this period, is just wanting to support all those stores. So, you know, even if it's buying online from them, from the bookshop or from, you know, the wine shop or whatever, you know, try to sort of spread the love as wide as possible, because, you know, it would be awful if we came out of this and, you know, half those shops were no longer there. I mean, that would just be a tragedy.
It really would. We've got such a lovely high street at the moment.
Three lovely high streets.
Three lovely high streets, indeed. But actually, that we're already having problems a little bit before because of rent and stuff. So, I've been very aware of that too.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, have there been particular kind of themes that have come up when you've been taking the photos in the last few months and speaking to people about it?
I think just the sort of reinforcement of the amazing community out there, and people wanting to help each other, and people being supportive. And I mean, it's just actually been a sort of re-emphasis of everything that's good about the place, really. I mean, there's a bit of that sort of Dunkirk spirit or whatever, I suppose, that goes on when, you know, in times of adversity, and it's just nice to see that, you know, everyone's sort of been looking out for everyone. I mean, obviously there have been, you know, negatives as well, I guess, but and obviously for, you know, people who've been affected by COVID, I mean, you know, I can't imagine the awfulness of it, but I think, you know, there's a lot of positives to have come out of this as well.
Yeah. What positives have you seen?
Well, I mean, apart from, you know, people just sort of being there for each other, I think just people sort of realizing that, you know, there are, certainly from a personal point of view, just being able to step back. I mean, it's almost like someone pressed pause. And, you know, that feeling, I've gone through life sort of feelings sometimes that, you know, I wish it would just stop for a minute, you know. Just, you know, perhaps particularly if times are really good, actually, you know, you just think, I don't want it to move on. I just want to stay here for a while. You know? And there's had that sense of, during lockdown, of a big sort of pause, you know, and actually having to sort of then, you know, take time to think about other things that are sort of important in life. And we get so wrapped up in careers and things that, you know, it's been quite nice to sort of slow down. I mean, I didn't work at all for 2 months.
Wow.
And you know, that it was hard in some senses, but actually I also really enjoyed it, and was able to sort of do other things. And
do you think it will have an impact on how you choose to live your life going forward?
I think so. I mean, I don't know if it's also my age, but I sort of feel slightly less driven to sort of achieve more and more all the time. I just sort of, you know, whatever happens sort of thing, you know, and just, you know, I think you come through this and think, well, if you survive this, then anything's fine, really, you know. So and I feel sort of quite positive about things, and, you know, work is trickling back again, which is great, but I wasn't in a hurry to start working again, I must say. I was sort of quite enjoying my time as it was, but
Sounds like you were not idle.
No, I definitely wasn't idle. I mean, I probably had you know, maybe there was a few days at the start where I sort of didn't quite know what to do with myself, but unfortunately the weather was mostly amazing, and so I was on my bicycle, or I was down at the allotment, trying to get out as much as possible, and, you know, be as productive as possible.
Yeah. Excellent. Just quick pause. I'm going to say hello to Lucinda, Samantha and Kim, who've joined us since I last did a hello. If you've got any questions for James, please do drop them in the social media feed, whichever platform you're on, and we'll answer them as we go. And just in case this I didn't say this, so just to make sure it's clear, the photos that are appearing to the side of us as we speak are from James's lovely blog. Remind me what it's called.
The Triangle SE19.blogspot.com.
Brilliant. And actually, so the other thing I was wondering, just listening to you talk about it, was if it's changed your relationship with the community by actually doing that at such a heightened time.
I mean, I think from the start of doing this 10 years ago, whenever it was, it certainly sort of changed my relationship with the community, and just sort of knowing people. It's become more villagey, if anything, and sort of, it's lovely to sort of go up to the Triangle and bump into people constantly. I mean, it takes a long time to walk from one side of the Triangle to the other now, but I love that, and I guess since lockdown that has intensified as well. And I mean, for a while there weren't many people around at all. Probably back in sort of late March, April, it was, the streets were a bit deserted. But those that were there, it was nice to see them. And just to, when you're locked up in your own place for long periods, it's just nice to see anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say I was very, very grateful for all the times that I bumped into somebody randomly when I was going for a run, and I'd bump into a choir member, and it was just such a joy. I mean, it would have been nice anyway, but it was actually a joy to bump in. It still is, to bump into somebody I know. It's just it brings a bit of human connection into the day.
Exactly.
Do you have any future plans for the blog? Are you saying it's given a new lease of life, maybe, to have a particular aim for it?
Yeah, I mean, it'll basically carry on in the same sort of format. I mean, there are a lot of places I'm itching to feature. I mean, one of the things I love about what I do generally, and also with the blog, is just being able to sort of get behind some closed doors. I mean, obviously, I go and see the shops and the cafes and things, but I also get into places that perhaps I wouldn't have got otherwise. Yeah. And it's the same with my job. It's sort of getting inside people's homes and having a good snoop. I mean, coming up, I mean, there are lots of places that are supposed to be opening soon, and hopefully they will still open soon. There's the new Brazilian business Amazonas, which looks very exciting. New sort of gluten-free and organic food produce, which is opening soon. And then I don't know what's happened about the Westo hotel side of things, which I'm hoping that will open soon. I mean, it'd be lovely to have a look at that, because I did see a couple of pictures of inside and it looked amazing. And,
I mean, that was terrible timing for them, wasn't it? Because they just about finished the building work.
Yeah.
Really awful.
And then there are I think the same company have the other project across the road, which used to be Plumbase, which is going to be a cafe bar. And I've seen someone posted pictures of the proposed shop front and everything, and it all looks very smart, and itching to see that. And hopefully these businesses will hopefully get off the ground soon. But so I want to feature all these places, and then the other big story coming up is I featured earlier in the year the making of the new dinosaur bridge, which was made in a metal fabricators down in Sydenham, and that it should have been installed by now, but obviously that's got delayed. But hopefully they will start work on that soon. So I look forward to reporting back on that being in situ. So
cool.
Yeah, so lots of things to look forward to, I'm sure.
Very much watch this space then.
Yeah.
And I guess for anybody who's watching who has connections to businesses on the Triangle, if they haven't yet been featured and they'd like to, they should get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What is the best way for people to do that?
Either email, give me a shout at james@jamesbalston.com, or via Twitter. And I mean, a lot of people locally know me through Twitter and Instagram and stuff, so I'm on all of those. And there's a Facebook page as well, James Balston Photography. So any of the above.
Cool. Do you think that the last 4 months and kind of the work you've been doing around the triangle, might it have an impact on the other work that you're doing, kind of shift who your clients are?
Possibly. I mean, since I started the blog, I have picked up a few local clients. So, over the years, I've done lots of photography for Joanna's, for example, and other local businesses. And it's nice to do stuff more locally. And I love traveling too, but it's great to do stuff close to home. And yeah, hopefully there'll be more of that. It's always a pleasure to sort of work with local people and support what they're doing. So
sort of brings two different communities together, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. I've got a question for you from Lucinda, who says, do you have any guidance on how to break into photography midlife?
Well, I was sort of midlife when I did it. I mean, I had a sort of bit of a background with photography, so it depends what, is it something that you've done on your own sort of at an amateur level before, or, are you thinking of training? But I mean, for example, one good way to get into it, and a lot of people sort of start their photography career by assisting working photographers. So coming along on shoots, being a bit of a dog's body and sort of, moving stuff around and sort of carrying bags and stuff. But, it's all about getting to know how, anyone might be able to pick up a camera and take a photograph, but actually seeing how to put it into practice and do a sort of professional job is a whole different thing. So I would say assisting photographers is a very useful way to progress. Yeah.
And I guess the bit that you don't necessarily know before you do it is all the different hats that you might have to wear in order to actually do the job.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like anything else, it's sort of having to deal with different people. In my case, it's the homeowner. It's maybe if I'm working for a magazine, it's a magazine editor, a stylist. Just having to work with different people like you do in any other job. It's. I mean, one of the things I love about it is that it's just the variety, and it's somewhere different every job. It's all new every time. So it's keeps life interesting.
How much creative input do you actually have, or does it depend on the client?
All clients are incredibly different, and I've had it sort of range from the client leaving me in the room or the property to get on with it, and they go away and just leave me totally free to do what I do, to I have this one client who is so specific. He more or less lines up the shots that he wants and tells me, all right, I want this angle. And I once caught him, which slightly irritated me. He actually picked up my tripod and moved the camera to another place, said, can we try it from here, please? And I thought, hey, you're really stifling any creativity here. But, I mean, I'm not too proud to sort of live with that. And, I'll work with clients how they want to work. So I'm not a prima donna. I'm very sort of flexible generally. So.
I suppose it's variety of people and variety of ways of working as much as variety of places, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're sort of coming to the end of our time, and I guess the other thing, based on what you've just said, which is not really to do with photography, that I wanted to ask is just what is your favourite thing about Crystal Palace? Because you obviously love it.
Oh God, and I ask everyone else this question as well. Where to start? I mean, there's so many
Good to
things.
be on the other side sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, all the things that I've just mentioned about community and all of that. The views are amazing. The green space, and actually, that's one thing I've discovered a lot more green space during lockdown. I've been, places within sort of half hour's walking distance that I didn't know about. Norwood Grove, for example, never been there before.
I've never heard of it.
It's
wow.
sort of towards Streatham, but it's close, And Biggin Hill Wood, I didn't know about that either. I thought Biggin Hill was somewhere in Kent, but there's another one here. So yeah, just discovering all these new places and just so much intriguing history about this place. I love all that.
Cool. Good place to be.
Definitely.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming to chat to us. It's really lovely to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
It's been great.
We'll put your social media links in the feed, so if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they can, to be featured on your blog or for anything else.
Absolutely.
You may find yourself with an assistant by the sound of it as well.
That's great.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
So, pleasure. Just before we finish, a couple of things that I need to advertise. One is anybody with kids, if you're looking for something for them to do next week, we have a musical theatre course that is running through the Library Hub for safety, kind of virus related safety. It won't actually be singing, but there will be choreography, work on drama, and sort of using the tracks to do those things with. Obviously very small numbers, so if you're interested in that, do find out more, book a place as quickly as you can. Limited numbers, even more than normal due to the current circumstances. This is run by Daniel Stockton, who is also running the West End Night concert on Sunday, 6 o'clock. This is a free concert that's being live streamed through the Library Hub in aid of Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ issues. So please do tune in for that. There are links if you'd like to donate. We'd be very, very grateful, but it is a free concert. The performers will be performing live from the Library Hub. Obviously, in the current circumstances, we can't have a live audience, and there's all sorts of safety measures in place, but they will be live from the Library Hub. And Palace a Cappella are very excited to be part of that as well. We're just finalising our virtual choir video for you all. So please do tune in for that. That's just via the Upper Norwood Library Hub Facebook page, 6 o'clock on Sunday. It's called Make Them Hear You. And then just a quick reminder that we are still running our All Alone Together project, which is partly researching the impact of COVID-19 on the community. We're creating an oral history. So hoping very much that we might have a connection with James's visual history. So creating an oral history of the pandemic in the community. If you'd like to be part of that, there's a very short survey on the website to fill in. There's 4 questions. It will take you 5 minutes. The bigger cross-section of community we can reach, the more helpful the Library Hub can be going forward in filling gaps in services and providing helpful spaces and all sorts of things. So please do get involved with that. If you're up for being interviewed by me, I would love to chat to you. Tick the box in the survey that says you're willing to be interviewed, and I'll be in touch about that. In other news, if you're interested in being featured on this show, I would love to hear from you. It saves me so much time if people come to me and say, I have something interesting to tell you about. So please do get in touch. And we're also looking for a co-host because this is running 5 days a week and we could really do with somebody else who'd like to be on camera. So get in touch with that with us about that if that's of interest as well. Tomorrow I am being joined by Nicola Kelly, who some of you know because she runs our 9 a.m. mini mindfulness sessions every day through the Library Hub live streaming program. And she's going to come and tell us about free sound baths that are happening through August, which are also part of All Alone Together, being funded by the Arts Council. So please do tune in at midday tomorrow for that to hear more. Enjoy the sunshine. It's beautiful out there. Stay safe and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.